Let's imagine that we've measured the length of the front boundary and find that although we've offset the house footprint and have a length of 40 feet, we find that the length is 46. So we need to modify that line. So modify, and we can stretch it by setting up, following the prompt, set up a crossing window, right click, indicate a base point. I'll zoom in a little, indicate a base point. So I click on the red end and then move away. With polar on, I can add my extra 6 feet, and we'll select our line, and it should read 46 feet. So I'll right click and zoom extents. So there's our front boundary with a length readjusted or adjusted. Let's insert some new symbols. So library, plants, standard, and let me perhaps bring in this little symbol here and insert it into the drawing, and we'll pop it down. Now, remembering that it's 3 feet in diameter, I'm going to select it and pick scale. Let's imagine this is and I'll take polar off at this point because the cursor is jumping, so I'm scaling that up a little, and I'll copy it. Let's imagine we want these planted fairly close together, and I won't bother mirroring, but I'll just copy them from this side and put them down there. And let's put in another, say, flowering cherry. It's a good idea to rotate symbols, but in this case, with this particular symbol, can you see that it has shadowing around it, and the rotation actually destroys that a little. There'll be a layer called shadow, so we can actually just turn on off the shadow layer. Let's bring in the final symbol here. So it's library, plants, standard, and we'll bring in, say, this one here. So we have a flowering cherry as a signature plant here, one of them or two of them. Let's imagine that this is a relatively large plant, and we can scale it up and again copy it from there and put it down. So we haven't paved the area yet, and I hope you can see that the structure of the design is taking shape, and it's relatively easy to implement. Well, let's now set the back boundary, and to do that we've measured from the house to the back boundary, and we'll say modify, offset, pick the back boundary, right click, through point, reset the distance. We measured it at 23.25, and we pick our side. Notice that because I had set a thickness to this particular line here of 0.3, the newly offset line is also thick, so we'll return it back to by layer. So now the back boundary is offset. Let's put the dimension in. We'll go from the corner of the house to the end of that line and zoom in, and we'll position it as a parallel sequence, pick it and change it back to architectural. And there's our 23 feet offset. Well, we've imagined that we've measured from the end of that line, the corner of the house, up into the corner of the block, and the distance is 21.25. So we need to use our lengthen tool, modify, lengthen, stretch, crossing window across there, right click, indicate there in the direction, we'll put polar on, go in that direction straight up, and it's 21.25, 21.25, and our line has been stretched. So now we can draw a line from the end point there to the end point of that one to give us that boundary. And that's as far as I'll go at the moment with the boundaries. Well, our site has 3 very large and dense trees in the back corner, so we'll choose Plant Symbol 116, we'll open it and insert it into the drawing and pop it down. Now that's very small, of course that's 3 feet in diameter, and we want to scale it. So let's just do it dynamically by coming out to the edge and just pulling it open like so. Pole is still on and our tracking is still giving us those jumps that we saw before, so I'll take it off. So there's our specimen, and it's been scaled by 2.77, so we could just copy it and like so. So we've got a clump of 3 trees in the back, and you might even get into the habit of just scaling each of clumps like this just a little bit differently, and even rotating them around using that handle. It just makes for a more interesting outline. So I'm sure you can finish off the design relatively easily. What we now want to experiment with is how do you plot this onto, let's say, an architectural C-size sheet.